How to stay calm when life gets chaotic. A practical guide to stress relief, mindfulness, emotional resilience, and peace in everyday life. By T.M. Light. Description: discover practical strategies to stay calm when life feels overwhelming. With this empowering guide, teaches readers how to manage stress, regulate emotions, and maintain clarity during turbulent times. Through mindful breathing, body-centered practices, micro-resets, intentional routines, and supportive connections, you'll learn to navigate chaos with confidence. Whether facing work pressure, personal challenges, or unpredictable circumstances, this book provides actionable tools to build resilience, patience, and inner calm. Perfect for anyone seeking stress management techniques, emotional stability, and practical ways to cultivate peace amidst life's storms. Chapter Outline. Introduction: Finding Stillness in the Storm. Chapter 1: Understanding Chaos and its Triggers. Chapter 2: The Power of Breath and Body Awareness. Chapter 3: Mindset Shifts for Staying Centered. Chapter 4: The Art of Micro-Resets. Chapter 5: Prioritizing What Truly Matters. Chapter 6: Emotional Regulation During Conflict. Chapter 7: Creating Calm Environments. Chapter 8: Building Routine as a Shelter. Chapter 9: Seeking Support Without Losing Independence. Chapter 10: Trusting the Flow of Life. Conclusion: Becoming Your Calm Anchor. Introduction: Finding Stillness in the Storm. Life has a way of moving faster than we anticipate. Days can spiral into chaos before we even realize it, leaving us breathless, disoriented, and overwhelmed. Emails pile up, responsibilities multiply, relationships demand attention, and the constant hum of information from phones, social media, and the news creates a background noise that never seems to stop. In these moments, stress can feel like a storm battering against your sense of control, leaving your mind racing and your body tense. It is easy to mistake this turmoil as a personal failure, a sign that you are not capable, organized, or strong enough. But the truth is far gentler. Feeling overwhelmed is human. Feeling anxious is normal. Feeling lost or panicked does not diminish your worth. This book begins with a simple truth: calmness is not the absence of chaos, it is the ability to maintain inner steadiness amid life's storms. It is a skill, not a birthright. And like any skill, it can be developed with patience, practice, and intention. You do not need to wait for the perfect moment, the quiet day, or a life without responsibilities to cultivate calm. You can begin now, even as the world spins around you. We live in a culture that glorifies speed, constant productivity, and the relentless pursuit of achievement. From morning alarms to late-night notifications, we are conditioned to move at a pace that leaves little room for stillness. It is no wonder that so many of us feel chronically overstimulated, drained, and reactive. But within that storm, there is an opportunity. There is an invitation to slow down, to breathe, and to reclaim a sense of agency over your inner world. Learning to stay calm does not require escaping responsibilities or withdrawing from life. It requires learning how to meet each moment with presence, awareness, and intentionality. This book is not a collection of quick fixes. It does not promise that you will feel serene the moment you read it. Life will still be unpredictable, and chaos will still appear. Instead, this book offers practical tools, mindset shifts, and exercises designed to help you build emotional resilience over time. It provides a framework for noticing your triggers, regulating your nervous system, and creating habits that anchor you in calm even when circumstances are turbulent. It is meant to be a steady companion, one that reminds you that even in the most disorienting moments, calm is always within reach. As you move through these pages, you will be guided to explore both internal and external sources of calm. You will learn to recognize the signs of rising tension, to harness the power of your breath and body, and to shift perspective when anxiety clouds your thinking. You will discover strategies for creating mental and physical space in the midst of demanding schedules, and ways to engage with others and the world without losing your equilibrium. Calmness is not passivity, it is active presence. It is not denial of challenges, it is responding to challenges with clarity and focus, rather than reaction and overwhelm. One of the key principles of this book is self-compassion. It is not meant to encourage complacency or avoidance. On the contrary, it teaches you that responding to life with patience, understanding, and kindness toward yourself actually strengthens your capacity to act effectively. When you stop judging your feelings of panic or stress as weaknesses, you free yourself to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. You create a mental environment where clarity, creativity, and purposeful action can flourish. Another guiding principle is small, intentional practice. Calmness is rarely a sudden epiphany. It emerges in incremental steps, often in moments that feel ordinary or insignificant. Taking a pause before responding to a stressful email, noticing your breath during a tense conversation, stepping outside for 5 minutes to clear your mind. These are not dramatic acts, but they accumulate to create lasting resilience. Over time, these small interventions form patterns that anchor you in stability, even when external circumstances feel uncontrollable. Throughout this book, you will be invited to reflect, experiment, and integrate practices at a pace that feels sustainable for you. You are not being asked to overhaul your life overnight or to become someone you are not. Instead, you are learning to reclaim your inner space, to nurture calm amidst uncertainty, and to discover that stability is available even when chaos surrounds you. The goal is not perfection but progress, a steady cultivation of the capacity to remain present, clear, and intentional, no matter what life throws your way. In the coming chapters, you will explore the sources of chaos in your life, both external and internal. You will learn tools for grounding your body, focusing your mind, and shifting your perspective. You will develop routines that create stability, strategies for managing emotions in conflict, and techniques for reducing overstimulation in your environment. You will also learn to leverage connection, boundaries, and self-trust as foundations for sustained calm. Each chapter is designed to provide practical guidance while also nurturing an inner sense of safety and resilience. By the end of this book, you will not only understand the nature of chaos, but also discover the calm that can exist within it. You will see that stillness is not a distant ideal or a luxury, it is a choice and a skill that you can cultivate today. You will learn that even amidst unpredictability, you can find moments of clarity, grounding, and peace. And perhaps most importantly, you will realize that the capacity for calm already exists within you. This book is simply a guide to help you access it consistently. So take a breath. Begin here. There is no need to wait for the storm to pass before seeking stillness. Calm is not outside of you, it is within. And as you journey through these pages, you will discover how to hold that calm, even when life feels anything but calm. Chapter 1: Understanding Chaos and its Triggers. Chaos is a word we often use to describe the moments when life feels uncontrollable, when our minds race, and when our bodies seem to carry the weight of everything at once. It can appear suddenly: a last-minute work crisis, an unexpected argument, an unplanned expense, or it can accumulate quietly over time, a slow build of tension that leaves us exhausted and on edge without us realizing exactly why. The first step in learning to stay calm is understanding the nature of chaos and recognizing the triggers that set it in motion. When you understand what sparks your overwhelm, you can begin to respond intentionally, rather than simply reacting to the storm around you. External chaos is often the easiest to identify because it comes from sources outside of ourselves. A chaotic work environment, demanding relationships, financial instability, or a constant barrage of messages and notifications are all examples of external factors that can trigger stress. These situations can feel urgent and unrelenting, pulling your attention in multiple directions at once. They demand immediate responses, and often they are not under your direct control, which can leave you feeling powerless. But recognizing the external triggers is empowering, because it allows you to differentiate between what you can influence and what you must navigate with acceptance. Awareness gives you the chance to make choices about how you engage, when you pause, and where you invest your energy. Internal chaos, by contrast, often goes unnoticed until it has taken root. While external chaos comes from life's events, internal chaos originates from within: the racing thoughts that swirl without pause, the relentless self-criticism, the replaying of conversations or imagined scenarios that leave your mind restless long after the events have passed. Internal chaos may manifest as anxiety, overthinking, irritability, or a sense of mental clutter that makes even small tasks feel overwhelming. Unlike external chaos, internal chaos can be deceptive because it feels as though it is reality itself, even though it is often just a reaction, a projection, or a habit of the mind. Understanding the distinction between external and internal chaos is crucial. Sometimes the storms we face are not entirely outside of us, but within, fueled by patterns of thought that have been left unchecked. Triggers, whether external or internal, are highly personal. A conversation that one person finds invigorating may leave another person drained and anxious. A fast-paced work environment may energize some, while overwhelming others. Even positive events, such as promotions, celebrations, or unexpected opportunities, can act as triggers when they demand rapid adaptation or attention. The key is to develop awareness of your personal triggers, to notice which situations, people, or thought patterns tend to initiate feelings of overwhelm. This awareness is not about labeling yourself as fragile or weak. It is about creating a map of your responses so you can navigate them with intention. Early warning signs of chaos often appear before the full storm hits. You may notice tension in your shoulders, a tightness in your chest, difficulty concentrating, or restless energy in your mind. Your patience may thin, irritability may rise, or small inconveniences may feel magnified. Recognizing these early signals is like spotting dark clouds on the horizon. It gives you time to prepare, to slow down, and to respond with calmness rather than being swept away by reactive energy. By paying attention to these subtle cues, you begin to reclaim control over your experience, even in the midst of external unpredictability. Another essential aspect of understanding chaos is examining your thought patterns. Many of us unconsciously amplify chaos through internal narratives that exaggerate the severity of situations or imagine worst-case scenarios. Thoughts like, "I can't handle this," "everything is falling apart," or "I'll never get through this," create a feedback loop that intensifies overwhelm. These patterns are not reality. They are interpretations of reality, often rooted in fear, habit, or past experiences. Awareness of these thought patterns allows you to step back, question their accuracy, and reduce their emotional power. Calmness begins not with controlling the outside world, but with observing and guiding the internal world. It is also important to recognize that chaos often triggers physical responses. The nervous system reacts to perceived threats with a cascade of hormonal changes. The heart rate increases, muscles tighten, the breath becomes shallow, and the mind enters a state of hypervigilance. These reactions are survival mechanisms. They are designed to help us respond to immediate danger. But in modern life, where threats are often psychological, social, or logistical rather than physical, these same responses can feel exhausting and unhelpful. By understanding that your body is responding naturally to perceived chaos, You can begin to intervene, using techniques such as deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or gentle movement to calm your nervous system and regain a sense of control. A crucial insight in navigating chaos is that not all chaos is inherently negative. Life's unpredictability brings both challenges and opportunities. External changes can create growth, innovation, and new perspectives. Internal chaos can highlight unresolved issues, fears, or unmet needs that, once addressed, strengthen resilience and self-awareness. By reframing chaos as a teacher, rather than merely an adversary, you begin to shift your relationship with it, from one of fear and resistance to one of curiosity and learning. This shift is empowering because it transforms chaos from something that dominates you into something you can engage with consciously and strategically. Identifying personal triggers and understanding the nature of chaos also opens the door to practical strategies for calm. Once you know what situations, thoughts, or environments provoke stress, you can begin to create buffers, boundaries, and interventions that reduce their impact. For example, if constant notifications increase your overwhelm, you can set specific times for checking messages. If certain thought patterns trigger anxiety, you can develop mindfulness practices to observe them without judgment. If physical tension signals the onset of stress, you can incorporate grounding exercises, stretching, or brief movement breaks. The more precisely you understand your triggers, the more effectively you can design intentional responses that preserve calm. Understanding chaos is also about recognizing patterns over time. Some triggers are situational, a looming deadline, an argument, a sudden crisis. Others are chronic, recurring in cycles, or emerging from long-standing habits. Observing these patterns without judgment allows you to anticipate challenges and create proactive strategies. For example, knowing that your mornings tend to be rushed and stressful might inspire you to adjust your routine, wake earlier, or simplify decisions during that period. Knowing that certain interactions spark tension allows you to prepare mentally or create boundaries that protect your energy. Awareness is the bridge between reactive chaos and intentional calm. Finally, cultivating calmness in the midst of chaos requires compassion toward yourself. Feeling overwhelmed is not a flaw. Being triggered by stress is not a weakness. The human mind and body have evolved to respond to uncertainty and perceived danger, and you are responding in the way your system knows how. By observing your reactions with curiosity and gentleness, you create the conditions for resilience. Calmness does not require perfection, it requires attention, practice, and patience. Each moment of awareness, each recognition of a trigger, each small act of self-regulation is a step toward mastering your ability to remain steady, even when life feels unpredictable. In this chapter, we have explored the landscape of chaos, differentiating external and internal sources of stress, recognizing personal triggers, and noticing early warning signs. We have examined the physical and psychological responses to chaos, highlighted the opportunities hidden within disruption, and emphasized the power of awareness and compassion. Understanding chaos is the foundation of calmness. When you know what sparks overwhelm, you can respond with intention, create boundaries, and implement strategies that preserve your equilibrium. This awareness is the first, most essential step in learning to navigate life's storms with steadiness and confidence. Chaos may never fully disappear, but the way you relate to it can change profoundly. By observing your triggers, noticing your early signs of stress, and responding with awareness rather than reaction, you begin to reclaim a sense of control, even in uncertainty. Calmness is not the absence of storms, it is the skill of standing grounded within them, aware, prepared, and capable. In the chapters ahead, you will learn practical tools, mental frameworks, and daily practices to strengthen this skill, turning chaos from a source of fear into an opportunity for resilience, growth, and clarity. Understanding chaos and its triggers is not the destination, it is the starting point. With this awareness as your guide, every breath, every pause, every intentional response becomes an act of reclaiming your calm, even when the world feels unpredictable. You are not powerless in the face of chaos. You are learning to navigate it with presence, clarity, and confidence, one moment at a time. Chapter 2: The Power of Breath and Body Awareness. In the midst of life's chaos, it is easy to believe that the mind is the only battlefield. Racing thoughts, spiraling worries, and mental overdrive can feel all-consuming, leaving us convinced that calming the mind is the key to serenity. Yet, one of the most overlooked truths about stress and overwhelm is that the body often leads the mind. Physical tension, shallow breathing, tight muscles, and restless energy amplify mental chaos, creating a feedback loop that leaves both body and mind exhausted. The path to calmness does not always begin with thinking better. It begins with feeling better in your body, with noticing, adjusting, and guiding the physiological state that underpins every emotion and thought. The body and mind are inseparable partners. When your muscles are tense, your breath is shallow, or your posture is constricted, your nervous system interprets this as a signal of danger, even if no external threat exists. This triggers the stress response. Heart rate increases, adrenaline floods your system, and cortisol primes you for action. Your mind, in turn, interprets these signals as urgency or threat, fueling anxiety, panic, or reactivity. Conversely, when you learn to regulate your body, softening tension, slowing the breath, and grounding yourself, your mind begins to follow. Calmness often starts in the body, even before thoughts quiet down. Breathing is the simplest, most accessible tool for reconnecting with your body and calming your nervous system. Yet, it is often taken for granted. Most of us breathe shallowly, rapidly, or unconsciously, especially in stressful situations. This type of breathing signals the body that something is wrong, maintaining a state of alertness and tension. By shifting to slow, deep, intentional breaths, you communicate to your body that it is safe to relax. One effective technique is diaphragmatic breathing, where you allow the abdomen to expand with each inhale and gently contract with each exhale. This simple adjustment increases oxygen flow, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and lowers heart rate, creating a sense of calm that spreads throughout your mind and body. Breath awareness also acts as an anchor to the present moment. When chaos arises, the mind often drifts into the past or future, replaying events or imagining worst-case scenarios. Focusing on the rhythm of your breath draws your attention back to the here and now. Even 5 minutes of mindful breathing can interrupt the cycle of overthinking and provide a mental reset. Over time, practicing this consistently builds resilience, allowing you to respond to stressful situations with clarity and composure rather than panic and reaction. Beyond breathing, body awareness is another cornerstone of calm. Paying attention to your posture, muscle tension, and bodily sensations provides insight into how stress manifests physically. Many people carry tension in the shoulders, neck, jaw, or lower back without realizing it. This tension is more than discomfort. It is the body's way of signaling unease. By consciously scanning your body, starting at the head and moving down through the toes, you can identify areas of tightness, holding, or fatigue. Once noticed, you can release tension through gentle stretching, massage, or simply conscious relaxation. Body scans not only relieve physical strain but also cultivate mindfulness, helping you notice stress signals early before they escalate into overwhelming anxiety. Grounding techniques further reinforce body awareness and connection. In chaotic moments, the mind may feel unanchored, thoughts scattering in multiple directions at once. Grounding practices help center your attention in the body and the environment. Simple methods include pressing your feet into the floor, noticing the sensations of contact with a chair, or touching a textured object and observing its feel. These practices bring awareness to the present and interrupt the spiral of mental overwhelm. Grounding is especially effective when chaos is external, deadlines, conflict, or sensory overload, because it reminds you that you are here, in this moment, capable of responding rather than being swept away. Movement is another essential pathway to calm. The body stores tension, often without our conscious awareness, and remaining physically stagnant can amplify stress and anxiety. Gentle movement such as stretching, yoga, tai chi, or even a short walk releases built-up tension and signals the nervous system to relax. Movement also shifts energy through the body, improving circulation, releasing endorphins and creating a sense of lightness that counteracts the heaviness of chaos. Importantly, movement does not need to be intense or prolonged. Even a few minutes of mindful motion can recalibrate the nervous system and restore a sense of agency in the face of stress. Another technique that combines breath and body awareness is progressive muscle relaxation. This practice involves intentionally tensing and releasing muscle groups sequentially, from the feet to the head or vice versa. By first creating tension and then consciously releasing it, you enhance awareness of areas of habitual tightness and train the body to let go. This practice not only reduces immediate physical stress, but also strengthens your capacity to notice tension before it escalates, making it a proactive tool for maintaining calm in everyday life. Your body also communicates with you through subtle sensations, butterflies in the stomach, shallow breathing, or a racing heartbeat. Learning to interpret these signals as early indicators of stress or chaos allows for timely intervention. Rather than dismissing these feelings or becoming frustrated by them, you can treat them as messages: notice me, slow down, reset. Responding to your body in this way fosters self-awareness and nurtures the sense of safety necessary for calmness to flourish. It is important to recognize that practicing breath and body awareness does not require perfection or extended periods of time. Even a few conscious breaths before a meeting, a brief scan of muscle tension while commuting, or a 3-minute grounding exercise during a chaotic moment can create meaningful shifts. The goal is not to become rigid or obsessive about bodily control, but to cultivate a reliable internal compass that guides you toward calmness, even in unpredictable circumstances. Beyond immediate stress relief, developing body awareness has long-term benefits. It strengthens the connection between mind and body, allowing you to notice early signs of burnout, anxiety, or emotional overwhelm before they escalate. It increases your capacity for emotional regulation, enabling you to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. And it enhances your sense of embodiment, grounding you in the reality of your present experience rather than being trapped in mental projections or rumination. Over time, these practices build resilience that carries into all areas of life: relationships, work, and personal growth. Incorporating breath and body awareness into daily routines reinforces these benefits. You might start each morning with a brief breathing exercise to set a calm tone for the day, check in with your body after long periods of sitting, or practice a short grounding routine before sleep. These consistent practices create a foundation of stability, ensuring that even when external chaos arises, your nervous system and mind have a reliable base from which to operate. Finally, it is worth noting that calmness achieved through body and breath work is not a form of escapism. You are not avoiding life's challenges. Rather, you are equipping yourself with the internal resources to meet them effectively. By regulating your physiological state, you enhance clarity, creativity, focus, and emotional resilience. You transform chaos from a source of overwhelm into a situation you can navigate with presence and confidence. In summary, understanding the connection between body and mind is the first step in cultivating calmness amid chaos. Physical tension, shallow breathing, and unconscious holding patterns amplify mental stress, while conscious attention to breath, posture, movement, and sensation provides an entry point to serenity. Techniques such as diaphragmatic breathing, grounding exercises, body scans, gentle movement, and progressive muscle relaxation create both immediate relief and long-term resilience. By learning to listen to and respond to your body, you reclaim agency, interrupt stress cycles, and cultivate a calm foundation that supports every area of your life. Calmness is not about eliminating chaos. It is about creating stability within yourself, regardless of external circumstances. When the body is supported, the mind can follow. When physical tension is released, thoughts become clearer. When breath is intentional, the nervous system relaxes. These practices are not luxury. They are essential tools for thriving in a world that is often unpredictable, demanding, and chaotic. The power to remain grounded, composed, and clear lies within you, in every breath, every muscle, and every moment of awareness. By prioritizing body awareness and breath, you are building the foundation upon which all other skills for managing chaos will rest. You are learning to stand firm in the storm, anchored by the innate intelligence and wisdom of your own body. This is the first step toward a calm life, one conscious breath and one mindful moment at a time. Chapter 3: Mindset Shifts for Staying Centered. Life has a way of testing us. Even with careful planning, thoughtful routines, and every effort to stay organized, unexpected events, disappointments, and challenges will arise. Chaos is part of the human experience, yet it is not the chaos itself that determines our emotional state. It is how we interpret, respond to, and make sense of it. Developing a mindset that allows you to stay centered, even when circumstances are turbulent, is a skill that can transform how you experience life. This chapter is devoted to helping you cultivate that mindset, teaching you that calmness is not merely a reaction to external order, but a conscious, deliberate choice rooted in perspective, self-awareness, and mental reframing. The first step in shifting your mindset is recognizing that control is often an illusion. Many of us spend immense energy trying to control outcomes, other people, or even our internal experiences, believing that if everything aligns perfectly, we will feel calm and secure. Yet life, by its nature, is unpredictable. Roads get blocked, conversations go awry, deadlines are extended, opportunities are missed, and emotions fluctuate. Fighting against these realities, or attempting to bend them to our will, only amplifies frustration, stress, and a sense of helplessness. Calmness emerges not when external chaos disappears, but when you release the need to control everything and choose to orient yourself in a centered, present way. One of the most powerful tools for staying centered amid chaos is the practice of reframing. Reframing is the cognitive skill of consciously shifting how you perceive a situation, allowing you to view it through a lens that reduces unnecessary emotional suffering. For example, instead of thinking this is a disaster, everything is falling apart, you might reframe it as, this situation is challenging but I can approach it step by step. The circumstances have not changed, but the emotional impact shifts dramatically. Reframing does not deny reality or encourage false optimism. It simply allows you to choose a perspective that is empowering rather than overwhelming. Another critical mindset shift is accepting uncertainty. Much of our stress comes from imagining the worst or believing we must predict and control every outcome. Life rarely conforms to our expectations, and trying to force certainty can become exhausting and futile. Accepting uncertainty means acknowledging that you do not know how everything will unfold, and that this is perfectly normal. Paradoxically, when you stop resisting the unknown, your mind relaxes, your body tension decreases, and calmness becomes accessible. Acceptance is not passivity. It is a state of clarity that frees energy to focus on what you can influence, rather than being trapped in worry about what you cannot. Cultivating perspective is another key component of a centered mindset. When chaos strikes, it is easy to magnify the importance of the moment, to believe that the current challenge defines your life or determines your future. Yet most stressful events are temporary. Most crises, when viewed over months or years, are relatively small chapters in a larger story. Developing perspective involves stepping back and asking, will this matter in a week, a month, or a year? This practice does not diminish the validity of your feelings, but provides a stabilizing framework for responding thoughtfully, rather than being swept away by intensity. Perspective allows you to prioritize, to respond with clarity, and to maintain equilibrium, even in situations that initially feel overwhelming. Mindset shifts also involve recognizing the stories we tell ourselves. Often, the narratives running through our minds exacerbate chaos. Thoughts like, I am failing, I will never get through this, or I can't handle this, create self-fulfilling loops that intensify stress. By observing these stories without judgment, questioning their accuracy, and reframing them with balance, you regain agency over your emotional state. For instance, noticing the thought, I can't handle this, and responding internally, I am facing a challenge, but I have the skills and resources to navigate it, can shift both perspective and physiological response, calming the nervous system and clarifying next steps. Gratitude and focus on what is within your control are complementary mindset practices. When life feels chaotic, it is easy to fixate on everything that is wrong or out of order. Shifting attention to what you can influence, your thoughts, responses, actions, and choices, grounds you in empowerment rather than helplessness. Similarly, cultivating gratitude, even in small ways, fosters a sense of stability and abundance. Noticing what is functioning, what is positive, and what is supportive in your life counterbalances the chaos and prevents the mind from becoming consumed by negativity. This does not ignore challenges, it simply provides balance, reminding the mind that while some things are uncertain, not everything is threatening or problematic. An essential mindset shift is understanding that calmness is a choice, not a passive state. Calmness does not appear automatically when chaos disappears. It is something you actively cultivate in real time. This requires self-awareness, attention, and intentional action. By choosing to respond rather than react, to breathe rather than escalate, and to observe rather than judge, you build the habit of remaining centered. Over time, this choice becomes instinctive. You begin to notice internal tension rising, recognize the onset of chaos, and activate calming practices almost automatically. Mindset is the foundation that allows these practices to work consistently and effectively. Another significant perspective is viewing challenges as opportunities for growth. Chaos is often uncomfortable, but it also provides insight into your resilience, resourcefulness, and capacity for adaptation. When approached with a centered mindset, difficult situations can reveal strengths you may not have recognized. Viewing challenges as teachers rather than enemies transforms the emotional tone of chaos, reducing fear and helplessness, while fostering curiosity, creativity, and problem-solving. This does not minimize the difficulty of circumstances. Rather, it acknowledges the human ability to rise, adapt, and learn through adversity. Mindset shifts also include the deliberate slowing of mental tempo. When life feels chaotic, the mind often races ahead, predicting outcomes, evaluating possibilities, and running through multiple what-if scenarios. This mental acceleration feeds stress and prevents calmness from taking hold. By intentionally slowing thought patterns through mindfulness, meditation, or simply pausing and breathing, you reduce the intensity of mental chaos. Observing thoughts as passing phenomena, rather than truths requiring immediate reaction, cultivates mental spaciousness and clarity. This spaciousness is the ground from which centered action emerges. Self-compassion is deeply intertwined with a centered mindset. In chaotic situations, many people respond with self-criticism. I should be handling this better, I am too anxious, or I am failing. Such judgments only intensify stress. Choosing self-compassion allows you to acknowledge the difficulty without shame, to treat yourself as you would a friend in similar circumstances. This reduces the emotional intensity of chaos, enhances problem-solving, and strengthens resilience. Self-compassion reminds you that chaos is part of life, and that your response is a practice, not a measure of worth. The practice of intentional attention is another powerful tool. Chaos scatters focus, making it difficult to see clearly or act effectively. By deliberately directing attention to what is most important in the present moment, your breath, the task at hand, the interaction you are engaged in, you reclaim control over your experience. Attention is a limited resource. Chaos thrives when your focus is fragmented. Centered attention channels energy where it is needed, enhances clarity, and reduces the mental noise that magnifies stress. Finally, cultivating a centered mindset is about building trust in your capacity to navigate life's uncertainty. Trust does not mean believing everything will be perfect or predictable. It means believing in your ability to respond, adapt, and regain balance regardless of circumstances. This trust grows through repeated practice, observing triggers, regulating body and breath, reframing thoughts, accepting uncertainty, and acting intentionally. Each small success reinforces your confidence and deepens the habit of centeredness, making calmness increasingly accessible even in chaos. In summary, staying centered in chaotic moments requires a deliberate, intentional mindset. It is about recognizing the limits of control, reframing stressful situations, accepting uncertainty, cultivating perspective, and observing mental narratives without judgment. It involves focusing on what is within your influence, practicing gratitude, slowing mental tempo, and approaching yourself with compassion. Centeredness is not a passive state, it is a conscious choice that becomes more natural with consistent practice. By shifting your mindset, you build resilience, clarity, and calmness that endure even in the midst of life's storms. Ultimately, mindset is the foundation for all other tools of calm. Breath, body awareness, grounding techniques, routines, and connection are powerful, but their effectiveness depends on a mind that is willing to choose presence, clarity, and intentionality. Chaos may be inevitable, but inner calm is always within reach. By cultivating the habits, perspectives, and self-compassion described in this chapter, you equip yourself with the mental framework necessary to navigate life's turbulence with steadiness, confidence, and grace. Calmness is a choice. With practice, it can become your default state, no matter what unfolds around you. Chapter 4: The Art of Micro-Resets. Life rarely gives us the space to pause. From the moment the alarm sounds in the morning, until we collapse into bed at night, we are moving through obligations, notifications, expectations, and demands. Even when we feel mentally exhausted or physically drained, the pressure to keep going persists. In such a rhythm, chaos can feel relentless, and calmness nearly impossible. Yet calmness is not an all-or-nothing state. It does not require hours of meditation, complete isolation, or a perfect environment. Instead, it is cultivated through the deliberate practice of micro-resets, small intentional pauses integrated throughout the day that restore clarity, steady the nervous system, and rejuvenate both body and mind. These micro-moments are the secret to sustaining calmness amid the constant demands of life. A micro-reset is simple by design. It does not need to take long or require any special equipment. It might be as brief as standing, stretching, and taking 3 slow, intentional breaths in the middle of a hectic morning. It could be a 2-minute walk outside, noticing the sensations of the ground beneath your feet, the temperature of the air, or the sounds of your environment. It might involve closing your eyes for a few minutes, releasing tension in your shoulders and jaw, and simply allowing your mind to settle. These small interruptions are powerful because they disrupt the cycle of overwhelm, before it escalates into anxiety, frustration, or fatigue. Over time, repeated micro-resets build resilience and a nervous system that is less reactive, more balanced, and increasingly capable of responding with calmness to unpredictable circumstances. The science behind micro-resets is rooted in how the nervous system responds to stress. When confronted with chaos, the sympathetic nervous system, responsible for the fight-or-flight response, activates. Heart rate rises, muscles tighten, and the body prepares for immediate action. While this response is useful in actual danger, in modern life it often triggers unnecessarily, leaving us tense, anxious, and depleted. Micro-resets interrupt this cycle. By consciously pausing, breathing, and engaging in gentle movement or mindfulness, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest branch, that restores balance, reduces physiological tension, and allows clarity to emerge. These brief resets may seem inconsequential at first, but repeated consistently, they fundamentally change how the body and mind respond to stress over time. Consider a simple example: a particularly stressful morning at work. Emails pile up, deadlines loom, and meetings run back to back. Without intervention, your nervous system ramps up, thoughts multiply, and anxiety mounts. If, however, you take 5 minutes to step outside, notice the sun on your face, breathe deeply, and shift focus to the sensations of your body, you create a buffer between stressor and your emotional response. That small moment recalibrates your nervous system, providing a fresh mental space in which to engage more clearly, creatively, and effectively. This is the essence of the micro-reset, a brief intentional intervention that prevents chaos from overwhelming you. Micro-resets are also about reclaiming control. In the midst of chaos, it often feels as though external events dictate every moment. By intentionally inserting pauses, you assert agency over your own state of being. Even 2 minutes of noticing your breath, stretching, or stepping away from a stressful environment is a declaration: you are not entirely at the mercy of circumstance. You are choosing calmness, if only for a moment. Each micro-reset reinforces the habit of returning to presence, teaching your nervous system that tension and overwhelm are not permanent, and that you have tools to regulate your internal experience. Variety in micro-resets keeps them effective. While repeated practice is important, integrating different approaches ensures that your nervous system and mind remain engaged. A 5-minute meditation, for instance, may cultivate focus and stillness, while a short walk may release tension physically and shift mental perspective. Stretching or yoga-based movements release tightness in the body, signaling safety and grounding. Even smaller acts like drinking a glass of water mindfully, listening to a brief piece of calming music, or stepping onto a balcony to observe the sky can serve as effective micro-resets. The key is intentionality. Each pause, however small, is a deliberate return to awareness and calm. Mindful walking is one of the most underrated micro-resets. By walking slowly and paying attention to the rhythm of your steps, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, and the sights and sounds around you, you bring your mind into the present. Often we move through our days mechanically, thinking ahead or replaying the past, unaware of our bodies and surroundings. Mindful walking interrupts this pattern. Even 5 minutes can restore clarity, reduce tension, and reorient your thoughts, allowing you to approach challenges with greater focus and composure. Micro-resets are especially powerful when integrated before, during, or after known stress points in your day. For example, taking a short pause before entering a tense meeting or conversation allows you to approach it with clarity rather than anxiety. Pausing after completing a demanding task, even briefly, creates a mental and physiological space to transition smoothly into the next task. Even small, seemingly inconsequential moments of rest during daily routines, washing dishes, commuting, waiting in line, can be transformed into micro-resets by incorporating awareness, breath, or movement. Over time, These accumulated pauses serve as a protective buffer against chronic stress. The psychological impact of micro-resets is profound. Each intentional pause reinforces a sense of agency and control. In the face of chaos, it is easy to feel reactive, pulled along by circumstances. Micro-resets create small islands of stability within the storm. They interrupt mental rumination, break patterns of anxious anticipation, and foster clarity and groundedness. The cumulative effect is a mind that is increasingly resilient, able to navigate complexity with calm and composure. Importantly, micro-resets cultivate a habit of self-compassion. Chaos often elicits harsh self-judgment. I should be handling this better, or I can't believe I feel so stressed. By consciously pausing, even for moments, you give yourself permission to reset rather than berate yourself. This gentle acknowledgement of your needs strengthens emotional resilience and reinforces the mindset that calmness is accessible, not contingent on perfection or complete control of circumstances. Micro-resets also reinforce awareness of bodily cues. Often, by the time we consciously realize we are stressed, our bodies have already been signaling tension for hours or days. Shoulder tightness, jaw clenching, shallow breathing, and restless energy are all early warnings of overwhelm. Incorporating micro-resets trains you to notice these cues sooner. This early recognition allows for timely intervention, preventing escalation into chronic stress, anxiety, or burnout. In this way, micro-resets serve as both preventive and restorative tools, supporting sustained calm throughout the day. Another aspect of micro-resets is mental decluttering. Even brief moments of reflection, breath, or pause allow the mind to sort through thoughts, prioritize concerns, and release unnecessary mental clutter. This creates a sense of spaciousness, where solutions, insights, and creative ideas can emerge. Chaos thrives in cluttered mental environments, but intentional pauses clear the mental fog, enabling more thoughtful, deliberate responses to challenges. Micro-resets are not limited to moments of high stress. They are equally valuable in ordinary daily life. By integrating brief pauses proactively, before tasks, during transitions, or between obligations, you maintain a baseline of calm that buffers against unexpected turbulence. Over time, micro-resets create a lifestyle rhythm in which calmness is cultivated continuously, rather than sought only as a reaction to chaos. This cumulative effect transforms how you experience life, making challenges feel manageable and moments of stress less overwhelming. The cumulative power of micro-resets cannot be overstated. Just as a single step begins a long journey, each intentional pause contributes to a larger framework of resilience. You may not notice dramatic shifts immediately, but with consistent practice, you will find that your capacity to maintain clarity, focus, and calm increases significantly. Life's storms no longer feel insurmountable, because your nervous system and mind have learned to regulate themselves through repeated, mindful interventions. In addition, micro-resets cultivate presence and deepen connection with yourself and your environment. When you pause, notice sensations, or engage in gentle movement, you reconnect with your body, your breath, and the world around you. This connection grounds you, reminding you that you are not entirely consumed by chaos. Even amidst external unpredictability, you have a steady internal resource, a calm center that you can access again and again. Micro-resets also remind us that calmness is not about controlling external circumstances. We cannot always stop deadlines, arguments, or unexpected events. What we can control is how we respond. Each micro-reset is a deliberate choice to reclaim composure, to interrupt patterns of reactivity, and to cultivate clarity. This daily practice strengthens the nervous system, reinforces agency, and transforms stress into manageable, navigable energy. Ultimately, the art of micro-resets is about reclaiming moments of calm amidst the relentless pace of life. They are small, intentional pauses that restore balance, quiet the mind, and steady the body. They cultivate resilience, strengthen emotional regulation, and create a foundation for sustained calm, even when circumstances feel unpredictable. Micro-resets are not luxury. They are essential tools for navigating modern life with presence, clarity, and grace. By intentionally integrating these pauses into your day, through breath, movement, grounding, or mindful awareness, you teach your nervous system and mind a new rhythm, one in which calmness, clarity, and resilience are accessible at any moment. Over time, these brief moments accumulate into a powerful reservoir of stability, allowing you to move through life's chaos with confidence, composure, and grace. The art of micro-resets is the practice of returning, moment by moment, to your center, building a life where calmness is not occasional, but habitual, even in the midst of stormy circumstances. Chapter 5. Prioritizing what truly matters. Chaos has a way of disguising itself as urgency. Every email that arrives, every request from a colleague or loved one, every minor inconvenience can feel like a crisis demanding immediate attention. The problem is that when everything feels urgent, nothing truly receives the focus it deserves. Your energy becomes scattered, your attention fragmented, and your mind caught in a constant state of reactive motion. In such an environment, calmness feels unattainable. Yet it is precisely in these moments that learning to prioritize what truly matters becomes essential, not only for effectiveness, but for your own emotional and physical well-being. Prioritization is not simply a time management tool. It is a pathway to reclaiming composure and focus amidst chaos. Understanding what truly matters begins with clarity. Clarity comes from stepping back and evaluating the landscape of your life. Not every task or request carries equal weight. Some actions have profound impact on your long-term goals, values, and relationships. Others are minor obligations, fleeting distractions, or simply things that feel urgent because they scream for attention. The first step in prioritization is distinguishing between these layers of importance. Ask yourself, will this truly matter in a week, a month, or a year? This perspective shifts your attention from immediate reaction to intentional action, from being swept along by external pressures to consciously choosing where to invest your energy. Boundaries are a critical component of prioritization. When life is chaotic, saying yes to everything may feel like the only option. You fear letting others down, missing opportunities, or falling behind. Yet overcommitment is a direct path to overwhelm. Learning to say no is not selfish, it is a form of self-preservation. By selectively choosing what you accept, you protect your energy, your focus, and your capacity to respond effectively to high-impact tasks. Saying no requires courage and clarity, but it ultimately enhances your ability to stay calm and present. Each time you decline a non-essential demand, you create mental and physical space for what truly matters. Delegation is another essential skill in navigating chaos. Recognizing that you do not need to handle every task personally is liberating. Delegating responsibilities, whether at work, home, or in personal projects, frees your energy to concentrate on areas where your effort is most effective and meaningful. This is not about avoidance, it is about strategic allocation of resources. By entrusting capable people with tasks that do not require your unique attention, you reduce personal stress, prevent burnout, and maintain the mental clarity necessary for effective action. Delegation also fosters collaboration, strengthens trust, and creates a more resilient environment in which chaos is shared rather than shouldered alone. Evaluating priorities requires reflection on values. What aligns with your long-term goals, personal mission, or deepest convictions? Chaos often tempts us to focus on what is loudest, fastest, or most visible, rather than what carries enduring significance. When priorities are guided by values rather than reaction, your actions become more meaningful and satisfying. High-impact tasks, those that move you closer to your goals, deepen your relationships, or contribute to your personal growth, deserve attention before the minor irritations and fleeting urgencies. This alignment between action and values fosters calm because your energy is invested where it truly counts, rather than dissipated in endless busywork. Time management alone cannot solve the problem of chaos. Prioritization requires conscious discernment. Techniques such as lists, calendars, or digital tools are helpful, but without the clarity of what matters most, these tools simply organize the noise rather than reduce it. Begin each day by identifying the few tasks that will have the greatest impact. Approach these tasks first, when your energy and focus are highest, and allow lesser priorities to take a secondary place. This approach does not ignore responsibilities, but arranges them according to significance, creating a natural rhythm that sustains calmness. Prioritization also involves distinguishing between urgency and importance. Chaos often presents urgent demands that feel critical, but have minimal long-term impact. High-priority tasks are important. They align with your goals, values, and well-being. By evaluating each task through this lens, you can make informed decisions about where to direct your energy. This perspective shifts the mindset from reactive survival to intentional engagement, empowering you to navigate chaos with clarity and purpose. Emotional energy is a key factor in prioritization. Not all tasks require equal emotional investment. Some challenges, while significant, may be approached with detachment and focus, while others, particularly interpersonal conflicts, may demand empathy, patience, and care. Recognizing where to invest emotional resources allows you to maintain composure. Attempting to treat every task or interaction with the same intensity spreads energy thin and amplifies stress. Prioritization includes allocating mental and emotional bandwidth wisely, conserving energy for what is most meaningful and impactful. Interruptions are inevitable, but how you respond to them shapes your experience of chaos. Micro-resets, discussed in the previous chapter, can support prioritization by allowing you to pause and evaluate before reacting. When a new request or unexpected event arises, take a moment to breathe, assess importance, and determine how it fits within your priorities. This practice prevents reactive engagement with every demand, and ensures that your actions are intentional rather than habitual. Each pause is an opportunity to align action with what truly matters, sustaining calmness and clarity. An essential mindset shift in prioritization is letting go of perfection. Chaos thrives on the illusion that everything must be handled flawlessly, immediately, and simultaneously. Attempting perfection is a fast track to exhaustion. High-impact actions do not require flawless execution. They require presence, effort, and consistency. Recognizing this allows you to release unnecessary pressure, focus on meaningful progress, and maintain composure amid imperfection. Calmness is reinforced when energy is applied strategically, rather than expended on trying to control every detail. Self-reflection is a powerful tool for refining priorities. At regular intervals, daily, weekly, or monthly, consider which actions, habits, and engagements have been most meaningful and effective. Which tasks contributed to your growth, relationships, or well-being? Which demands left you feeling scattered, frustrated, or depleted? Reflection strengthens awareness of patterns, guiding future decisions about where to invest time and energy. Over time, this practice cultivates a disciplined yet flexible approach to priorities, allowing calmness to emerge naturally, even when external demands fluctuate. Boundaries extend beyond tasks and schedules. They also encompass people, environments, and internal thought patterns. It is important to recognize when certain environments or relationships consistently disrupt your focus or increase stress. Prioritization may involve limiting exposure to these influences, protecting your time and attention, and creating conditions conducive to centered action. Boundaries are not punitive. They are protective measures that preserve the mental, emotional, and physical resources necessary to maintain calm in a chaotic world. The principle of high-leverage actions is central to prioritization. High-leverage actions are those that produce disproportionate impact relative to the effort invested. They move you closer to your goals, resolve persistent challenges, or strengthen critical relationships. Identifying and executing these actions first each day ensures that your energy is used effectively. Low-leverage activities, while sometimes necessary, should not monopolize attention or emotional investment. This approach reinforces calm by focusing on what truly matters, reducing the sensation of being pulled in multiple directions. Prioritization also involves flexibility. Life is unpredictable and circumstances shift. The ability to reassess priorities dynamically, while maintaining focus on core values and high-impact actions, is essential. Flexibility does not mean abandoning structure. It means responding intelligently to change, adjusting tasks and focus without losing sight of what is most important. Calmness is cultivated not through rigid adherence to plans, but through adaptive engagement with what truly matters. Delegation, boundary setting, and focused attention all converge to create a rhythm of calm. Each choice to say no, assign responsibility, or direct focus toward high-impact tasks is an act of reclaiming control. Chaos loses its power when your energy is concentrated where it matters most, when your attention is aligned with purpose, and when your decisions are intentional rather than reactive. Over time, this disciplined approach becomes instinctive, transforming how you navigate life's demands and reinforcing emotional stability. Prioritization is also about honoring your own capacity. Even the most important tasks require energy, attention, and resilience. Recognizing your limits, taking necessary pauses, and integrating micro-resets ensures that you can perform at your best. Attempting to accomplish everything at once, even when tasks are meaningful, erodes calmness and diminishes effectiveness. Wise prioritization balances ambition with self-care, creating a sustainable path through complexity and uncertainty. In practice, prioritization might look like this. At the start of each day, identify 2 to 3 high-impact tasks that will make the most difference. Let other obligations take a secondary position, unless they cannot be deferred. During the day, use micro-resets to pause, reassess, and adjust focus. When new demands arise, evaluate their alignment with your priorities before committing. Delegate where possible. Say no when necessary. Attend to your energy, boundaries, and capacity. Each step reinforces calmness, turning what could be chaotic days into manageable, intentional engagement with life. Ultimately, prioritization is not about doing less. It is about doing what matters most with clarity, focus, and composure. It is the recognition that your attention, energy, and presence are finite, and that investing them strategically produces calm, meaningful, and effective action. Chaos is inevitable, but the ability to navigate it without being swept away rests on the capacity to evaluate, choose, and act in alignment with what truly matters. By intentionally prioritizing high-impact tasks, setting boundaries, delegating responsibilities, and cultivating flexibility, you reclaim control over your life and preserve emotional equilibrium. Each act of prioritization strengthens your nervous system, builds resilience, and creates space for calmness to flourish. In a world that constantly demands your attention, this practice becomes a sanctuary, a place of clarity, presence, and centered action. Calmness is not the absence of demands, it is the presence of intentionality, focus, and purpose. Through prioritization, you choose what deserves your energy, protect your resources, and navigate life's chaos with confidence, grace, and composure. Chapter 6: Emotional Regulation During Conflict. Conflict is one of life's most inevitable sources of chaos. Whether it emerges in the workplace, within family dynamics, in friendships, or intimate relationships, disagreements challenge our emotional equilibrium. What often makes conflict so destabilizing is that it is deeply personal. Words, actions, or even perceived slights can trigger intense emotions, reigniting past wounds or amplifying insecurities. When emotions surge unchecked, clarity diminishes, tension escalates, and relationships can fracture. Yet, the ability to regulate your emotional responses in these moments is not only possible, it is a skill that cultivates calmness, strengthens resilience, and transforms conflict from a source of chaos into an opportunity for understanding, growth, and deeper connection. The first step in emotional regulation during conflict is awareness. Awareness begins with recognizing your internal state the moment tension arises. Notice the physiological signals that indicate your nervous system is activating: a racing heart, shallow breathing, tight muscles, or a sudden rush of adrenaline. These are not signs of weakness, they are your body's natural response to perceived threat. By observing these reactions without judgment, you create a space between stimulus and response, giving yourself the chance to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. This space is where calmness begins. Pausing before responding is one of the most powerful techniques in conflict management. Human instincts often push us to react immediately, to defend, argue, or assert our perspective. Yet, impulsive responses are typically driven by emotion, not reason, and can escalate chaos instead of resolving it. By consciously pausing, even for a few seconds, you allow your mind and nervous system to shift from reactive mode to reflective mode. This pause can be as simple as taking a slow, deep breath, noticing the tension in your body, or silently counting to 3 before speaking. This small but deliberate act creates space for composure, clarity, and intentional communication. Mindful listening is another cornerstone of emotional regulation in conflict. In heated moments, the instinct to respond often overwhelms the ability to truly hear the other person. Mindful listening requires giving full attention to the speaker, noticing not only their words but the emotions underlying them, without immediately formulating a rebuttal. When we listen with presence, we validate the other person's experience, de-escalate tension, and open the door to mutual understanding. It is not about agreeing with their perspective, it is about acknowledging it and responding from a centered, composed place, rather than from reactive defensiveness. Understanding triggers is essential in maintaining emotional composure. Everyone has particular sensitivities, shaped by past experiences, personality, and current stress levels. Conflict often ignites these triggers, making ordinary disagreements feel disproportionate. By identifying your triggers, whether it is criticism, perceived disrespect, or unmet expectations, you can prepare strategies to regulate your response. This may involve pausing longer, reminding yourself of context, using grounding techniques, or consciously reframing the situation. Awareness of triggers does not prevent conflict, but equips you with tools to navigate it without losing composure. Reframing is a critical mindset tool in emotional regulation. Conflict can feel personal, as if the other person's words or actions define your worth or competence. Reframing allows you to step back and interpret the situation through a lens of curiosity, learning, or problem-solving rather than judgment or fear. For example, a colleague's criticism might be reframed as an opportunity for growth rather than an attack, or a family disagreement as a chance to strengthen communication and understanding. This shift does not diminish the importance of the conflict, but changes your internal narrative, reducing reactivity and creating a calmer, more constructive response. Breathwork is one of the most immediate and effective tools for calming the nervous system during tense exchanges. When emotions flare, breathing often becomes shallow and rapid, signaling danger to the body and escalating stress. Consciously slowing the breath, deepening inhalations and extending exhalations activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing heart rate and tension. Even subtle adjustments, such as a slow exhale or a single deep abdominal breath, can create a sense of calm that stabilizes both mind and body, providing the foundation for measured, composed communication. Physical grounding is another essential component of emotional regulation. During conflict, the mind tends to spiral, imagining worst-case outcomes or replaying past grievances. Grounding techniques, pressing your feet into the floor, noticing the contact of your body with a chair, or observing sensory details in your environment, anchor your attention in the present moment. This anchoring disrupts spiraling thought patterns, restores perspective, and allows your nervous system to shift from hyperarousal to a more regulated state. Grounding creates a physical and mental foundation from which calmness and clarity emerge. Self-compassion plays a vital role in managing emotions during conflict. Often we become critical of ourselves for feeling anger, frustration, or anxiety, labeling these emotions as wrong or weak. Self-compassion involves recognizing that strong emotions are natural human responses and allowing yourself the grace to experience them without judgment. By acknowledging your feelings, you reduce the added stress of self-criticism, creating internal space for composed action and thoughtful responses. Emotional regulation is not about suppressing feelings, it is about responding to them wisely and kindly. Setting mental boundaries is equally important. During conflict, it is easy to internalize the other person's negativity or let their emotional state dictate yours. Mental boundaries involve distinguishing between what is within your control, your thoughts, reactions, and choices, and what is outside it, the other person's emotions, words, and actions. Focusing on what you can influence allows you to remain centered and respond intentionally, rather than being swept along by reactive patterns or escalating tension. This distinction reinforces calmness and prevents emotional entanglement that amplifies chaos. Language choice is another key tool in emotional regulation. Words carry energy, both for the speaker and the listener. Using neutral, non-judgmental language can reduce escalation and maintain dialogue. Phrases like "I notice that I feel," rather than "you always," communicate your perspective without triggering defensiveness. Intentional language reflects the state of calm within you and invites constructive conversation rather than fueling conflict. Visualization can be a subtle yet powerful technique during tense interactions. Imagining a calm, centered version of yourself navigating the conversation with clarity and composure primes your nervous system to act accordingly. This mental rehearsal strengthens confidence, reduces panic, and creates a sense of preparedness. By envisioning your own poise, you align your body, mind, and emotional responses with the outcome you desire, composed engagement rather than reactive chaos. Emotional regulation also requires recognizing escalation cues in others. Conflict is relational. How you respond influences the dynamic. Noticing when a conversation is becoming heated allows you to implement calming strategies, such as slowing your speech, pausing, or suggesting a brief break. By maintaining composure, you often create a stabilizing influence, reducing the likelihood of escalation and fostering an environment where resolution becomes possible. Calmness is contagious. Your centered presence can shift the tone of even a tense exchange. Practicing regular reflection after conflict reinforces emotional regulation skills. After a difficult interaction, consider what triggered your emotional response, what strategies helped, and what could be improved in future situations. Reflection is not self-criticism. It is a learning process that strengthens awareness, resilience, and skillful response. Over time, this practice builds a nervous system and mindset capable of navigating conflict with increasing calm and confidence. Importantly, emotional regulation does not mean passivity or avoidance. Boundaries, assertiveness, and clear communication remain vital. Calmness enhances, rather than diminishes, your ability to advocate for yourself, express needs, and maintain integrity. A regulated emotional state provides clarity to set limits, negotiate solutions, and maintain your values, even when chaos surrounds you. Calmness becomes not a retreat, but a source of strength and presence. The integration of breath, body awareness, mindful listening, pausing, reframing, and self-compassion creates a toolkit for navigating conflict effectively. These strategies are interdependent. Each supports the others, forming a coherent system for managing emotional reactions. By practicing them consistently, you cultivate the ability to respond to disagreements and stress with composure, reducing the intensity and duration of chaos, and preserving both relationships and personal well-being. Conflict is inevitable, but it does not have to define your emotional state. By regulating your internal response, you maintain agency, clarity, and calmness. Chaos loses its grip when your reactions are intentional rather than impulsive, measured rather than explosive, reflective rather than reactive. The ability to remain composed during conflict strengthens self-trust, nurtures healthier relationships, and reinforces a resilient emotional foundation capable of weathering future challenges. Ultimately, emotional regulation is the bridge between chaos and clarity. It transforms conflict from a source of overwhelm into an opportunity to exercise presence, skill, and awareness. By cultivating the habits described in this chapter, mindful listening, pausing, breathwork, grounding, self-compassion, reframing, and reflective practice, you train your nervous system and mind to remain centered in turbulent moments. Calmness becomes not a fleeting experience, but a stable and accessible state, empowering you to navigate life's interpersonal challenges with confidence, grace, and composure. In the end, maintaining emotional regulation during conflict is an act of self-mastery. It requires practice, patience, and gentle persistence. Yet the reward is profound: clarity in communication, strength in presence, resilience in adversity, and calmness in the face of chaos. By responding instead of reacting, by listening instead of lashing out, and by cultivating awareness and composure, you create a foundation that sustains you through the inevitable conflicts of life. In this space of calm, you do not simply survive chaos, you navigate it with integrity, clarity, and empowered presence. Chapter 7: Creating Calm Environments. The spaces we inhabit, our homes, workplaces, digital environments, and even the corners of our minds we frequent, shape the way we experience life. When chaos is present in our surroundings, whether it is physical clutter, constant noise, or endless digital interruptions, our nervous system reacts as if we are under perpetual threat. Even subtle cues, an overflowing inbox, a messy countertop, or a buzzing phone, can trigger tension, restlessness, and anxiety. Calmness is not just a mental or emotional state, it is also cultivated through the deliberate design of our environments. When we create spaces that support clarity, focus, and relaxation, we reinforce our capacity to navigate life's challenges with composure and intention. The first step in creating a calm environment is cultivating awareness of how your surroundings affect your state of being. Walk through your home or workspace and notice your reactions. Which areas evoke tension, distraction, or restlessness? Which spaces invite peace, focus, or creativity? Pay attention not only to the visual and auditory elements, but also to how spaces influence your mood and energy. The awareness that your environment is not neutral, but actively shapes your mental and emotional state, is the foundation for meaningful change. Decluttering is one of the most immediate and transformative strategies for calming a space. Clutter acts like visual noise, constantly competing for attention and overloading the mind. Piles of papers, scattered belongings, or even disorganized digital files create a subtle but persistent sense of disorder that elevates stress. The process of decluttering is not about achieving perfection. It is about creating intentional space that allows your mind to rest. Begin by clearing one area at a time, a desk, a counter, or a digital folder, and notice how even small adjustments can produce a profound sense of relief. As you release excess items, you create room for clarity, presence, and focused energy. Noise management is another critical aspect of creating calm environments. Auditory clutter, background chatter, traffic, notifications, or overlapping conversations stimulates the nervous system and can increase anxiety. Where possible, introduce intentional quiet or soft, soothing background sounds that promote relaxation. This might involve using noise-canceling headphones, setting boundaries for quiet periods, or playing calming instrumental music. By controlling auditory stimuli, you reduce the constant activation of the sympathetic nervous system, allowing your mind to settle and focus. Noise management is particularly effective in environments where sustained attention and composure are required, such as workplaces or study areas. Digital environments have become one of the most significant sources of chaos in modern life. Constant notifications, social media alerts, and an ever-growing stream of emails pull attention in multiple directions, fragmenting focus and increasing stress. Managing digital clutter is as essential as physical decluttering. Begin by setting boundaries for notifications, disable non-essential alerts, and designate specific times to check messages or emails. Organize files, apps, and workspaces to reduce cognitive load. Even small adjustments, like keeping your desktop minimal or using focus modes on your devices, create a sense of control and tranquility. By reclaiming your digital environment, you reclaim attention, presence, and calmness. Lighting and air quality also influence calmness. Harsh fluorescent lights, dim or inconsistent illumination, and stagnant air can subtly affect mood, alertness, and stress levels. Introducing natural light, warm-toned bulbs, or adequate ventilation can positively impact both emotional and physical well-being. Plants, fresh air, or open windows create sensory cues that signal safety, growth, and life, grounding the nervous system and encouraging relaxation. The act of optimizing lighting and air is not superficial. It communicates to your body and mind that your environment is supportive, safe, and conducive to calm engagement. Furniture and organization also matter. Spaces that allow for movement, proper posture, and comfort reduce physical tension that often translates into mental stress. Cluttered surfaces, cramped seating, or chaotic layouts may keep the nervous system on alert. Creating zones for specific activities, work, relaxation, exercise, or creativity helps condition the mind to enter different states depending on context. When your environment reflects intentional design rather than randomness, your brain interprets this as stability, and calmness becomes more accessible. The principle of sensory simplicity extends to visual and tactile elements as well. Overly busy patterns, bright colors, or constant visual stimulation can tax the mind, particularly in already stressful moments. Neutral tones, gentle textures, and orderly arrangements provide subtle cues of safety and organization. Even small interventions, like arranging a workspace neatly, using baskets or containers for loose items, or choosing soothing colors, can influence mood and focus. Calm environments do not demand minimalism at an extreme level. They require intentionality, balance, and harmony that support clarity and presence. Cultivating spaces for reflection and pause is another powerful strategy. These areas, whether a quiet corner, a cozy reading nook, or a small outdoor space, become anchors for your nervous system. When chaos arises, having a designated environment for micro-resets, deep breathing, or mindfulness allows you to recalibrate quickly. This intentional use of environment reinforces the connection between space and emotional regulation, training both mind and body to associate these spaces with calm, stability, and clarity. Boundaries within environments are equally important. Physical and digital spaces often overlap with social obligations and demands. Setting boundaries around when and where interactions occur, when devices are used, and when focus is uninterrupted protects the integrity of calm environments. This may involve communicating expectations to colleagues, family members, or roommates, or scheduling uninterrupted focus periods during the day. Boundaries are not restrictive. They are supportive structures that enable your nervous system to maintain composure even amid external demands. Rituals and routines within spaces amplify their calming effects. For instance, starting the day with a specific arrangement, clearing the desk, opening the window, lighting a candle, or sitting quietly for a few moments, signals to the mind and body that it is time to move into presence. Small, repeated actions create stability, reducing cognitive load and building predictability in an otherwise chaotic life. When your environment is paired with consistent rituals, it becomes a reliable cue for calm, focus, and emotional regulation. The act of organizing and curating your environment also fosters a sense of control. In times of chaos, feeling powerless can intensify stress. Adjusting your surroundings, even incrementally, restores agency. You communicate to yourself, "I can create spaces that support me, even when external circumstances are unpredictable." This sense of agency reinforces internal calmness, making you less reactive to external disruptions and more capable of intentional, composed action. Mindful interaction with objects and spaces enhances the benefits of calm environments. Handling items intentionally, keeping essential tools within easy reach, and maintaining functional organization reduce frustration and distraction. Even the placement of personal or meaningful objects can influence emotional state. Photos, plants, or artifacts that evoke peace, inspiration, or gratitude can transform an ordinary space into one that nurtures resilience and emotional balance. Your environment, consciously curated, becomes an extension of your internal state, a supportive partner rather than an additional source of chaos. Flexibility within environmental design is important as well. Life is dynamic, and spaces that can adapt to changing needs allow you to maintain calm under shifting circumstances. Movable furniture, adaptable lighting, modular storage, or flexible digital organization support fluidity without sacrificing order. Calmness is reinforced not by rigid control over the environment, but by creating spaces that respond to life's demands while preserving mental and emotional balance. Incorporating nature into your surroundings is particularly effective in restoring calm. Studies consistently show that exposure to natural elements, plants, sunlight, water, or outdoor views, reduces stress, lowers heart rate, and enhances mood. Even brief interaction with natural elements, such as tending to indoor plants, stepping outside for fresh air, or observing natural scenes, signals safety to the nervous system and encourages a centered, relaxed state. By weaving nature into your environments, you provide consistent sensory cues that support calmness and resilience. Digital decluttering extends beyond notifications and email management. Social media feeds, online groups, and news consumption can all serve as sources of constant cognitive noise. Setting limits, curating content, and scheduling time away from screens allow your mind to rest. The brain benefits from mental breathing space, just as the body benefits from physical organization. A digital environment that reflects calmness supports attention, focus, and emotional stability in the face of everyday chaos. The practice of environment-based calmness is cumulative. Each small adjustment, clearing a desk, turning off a notification, opening a window, creating a quiet corner, or integrating natural elements, may seem minor individually, but together they produce a profound shift in how you experience your life. Calmness becomes more accessible, not contingent on external perfection or ideal conditions, but emerging naturally from a network of supportive cues woven into your daily spaces. Ultimately, creating calm environments is an act of self-care, intentionality, and empowerment. By shaping your surroundings, physical, digital, and social, you reinforce the internal habits of presence, composure, and focus. Chaos will still arise, but a thoughtfully designed environment buffers its impact, giving you space to breathe, think clearly, and respond intentionally. Calmness is not passive. It is actively cultivated through the spaces you inhabit and the cues you integrate into your life. When your environment supports your well-being, you no longer need to wait for calm to arrive. It is present, accessible, and reinforced at every turn. Decluttering, noise management, digital boundaries, intentional lighting, grounding spaces, and natural elements create a scaffold for resilience. In this scaffold, your nervous system finds safety, your mind finds clarity, and your emotions find balance. Chaos may persist, but within these intentionally designed spaces, calm is not just possible, it is habitual, reliable, and restorative. Creating calm environments is more than an organizational exercise. It is a transformative practice that aligns your external world with your inner state. By deliberately curating spaces that support relaxation, focus, and emotional regulation, you reinforce your capacity to navigate life's unpredictability with composure, clarity, and grace. Calmness, cultivated in these environments, becomes a sustaining force, equipping you to respond to life's storms not with reactivity but with presence, intention, and steady resilience. Chapter 8: Building Routine as a Shelter. In the midst of chaos, routine can be a lifeline. When the world feels unpredictable, when deadlines loom, personal obligations pull in every direction, and external circumstances are in constant flux, the small acts of consistency offer a sense of safety. Routine is often misunderstood as rigidity, a prison of repetitive tasks and strict schedules. Yet, when approached with intention and self-compassion, routine becomes a shelter, a structure that protects the mind and body, nurtures emotional stability, and creates space for calm to flourish, even when external conditions remain turbulent. It is not about control over life itself, but control over how you anchor yourself within it. The first step in building routine is recognizing the difference between survival and stability. During chaotic times, it is tempting to merely react, addressing one pressing demand after another. This approach may allow short-term survival, but it leaves you depleted, fragmented, and emotionally taxed. Routines, even small ones, create predictable touchpoints that the nervous system recognizes as safe and grounding. A morning ritual of making tea, a brief stretch, and a few minutes of mindful breathing, for example, may seem trivial, but it signals to your mind and body that the day can begin in a stable, controlled way. Over time, these touchpoints accumulate, producing a powerful buffer against chaos and unpredictability. Gentle routines, by definition, are flexible yet consistent. They do not demand perfection, nor do they require hours of preparation. Instead, they focus on high-impact small actions that can be realistically maintained. For instance, setting a consistent wake-up time provides a foundation for the day, aligning circadian rhythms, supporting mental alertness, and enhancing energy regulation. Pairing this with a few minutes of intentional reflection, light movement, or hydration cultivates calm and clarity, preparing both body and mind to navigate challenges. The emphasis is not on rigidity, but on creating anchors that foster stability in an otherwise unpredictable environment. Sleep is one of the most crucial components of routine. In times of stress or chaos, sleep is often sacrificed in favor of responding to demands or attempting to catch up on work or responsibilities. Yet inconsistent or insufficient sleep exacerbates emotional reactivity, reduces focus, and diminishes resilience. By establishing a consistent sleep schedule, even if it is imperfect, you create a physiological anchor that enhances your capacity for calm. Prioritizing rest signals to the nervous system that you are protecting your well-being, reinforcing stability and emotional balance, even amidst external turbulence. Mealtime routines are another powerful form of structure. Regular, mindful eating not only nourishes the body, but also grounds attention in predictable moments. Skipping meals, eating hastily, or consuming food under stress can amplify tension, weaken focus, and erode the sense of control. By intentionally setting times for meals, preparing food with care, and eating without distractions when possible, you cultivate a small but meaningful rhythm that supports energy regulation, focus, and calmness. These moments, repeated consistently, become anchors that subtly stabilize the day. Movement and exercise are equally essential in routine building. Physical activity serves as both a release valve for stress and a mechanism for grounding. A short morning walk, gentle stretching, or even a few minutes of yoga can reset the nervous system, enhance focus, and foster a sense of mastery over your body. Embedding movement into daily rituals signals to your mind that, regardless of external chaos, your body has a predictable, caring rhythm. Movement routines are not about achieving peak fitness or perfection. They are about consistency, presence, and nurturing the connection between body and mind. Micro-habits are the foundation of sustainable routines. Rather than attempting to overhaul life in one dramatic step, focus on small, repeatable actions that provide consistent feedback to the nervous system. Drinking a glass of water upon waking, journaling for 5 minutes, taking a brief pause before responding to messages, or practicing a short meditation each evening are examples of micro-habits that reinforce stability. Over time, these small acts accumulate, forming a robust scaffold of routine that supports calmness, resilience, and emotional regulation. Intentional transitions are also critical. Chaotic periods often feel like a series of jarring shifts, meetings, phone calls, tasks, and social interactions occurring back-to-back without pause. By creating mini-rituals for transitions, you provide your nervous system with signals to reset. A 5-minute walk between meetings, deep breaths before starting a task, or simply standing and stretching before switching focus can prevent cumulative stress from overwhelming your mind and body. These small, deliberate pauses anchor attention, maintain clarity, and reinforce the stabilizing power of routine. Journaling or reflective practice within routines serves both emotional and cognitive stabilization. Writing down thoughts, concerns, or intentions, even briefly, organizes mental chatter and provides perspective. In chaotic periods, the mind tends to spiral, revisiting problems repeatedly without resolution. A short journaling practice, integrated consistently into daily routine, allows thoughts to be externalized and structured, reducing overwhelm and promoting calm. Reflective practice, repeated daily, teaches the mind that even in chaos, there is a rhythm and structure that supports composure and clarity. Routine also nurtures self-compassion. By establishing predictable touchpoints that care for your physical, emotional, and cognitive needs, you reinforce the message that your well-being is a priority. Consistent routines signal to yourself that you are deserving of stability and care, creating internal reassurance that is critical when external life is unpredictable. This self-directed stability strengthens resilience, reduces reactivity, and builds a foundation for maintaining calm even when chaos persists. Boundaries reinforce routine. Routines are not isolated practices. They intersect with daily life and obligations. Setting boundaries ensures that routines remain intact and effective. For instance, protecting time for morning reflection, exercise, or focused work requires clear communication with colleagues, family members, or roommates. Boundaries prevent intrusion into these stabilizing moments, preserving their role as anchors in chaotic circumstances. Each maintained boundary is a signal of self-respect and a reinforcement of internal calm. Flexibility is an essential companion to routine. Life is unpredictable, and strict adherence to an inflexible schedule can backfire, producing frustration and stress when deviations occur. Gentle routines prioritize consistency of intention rather than perfection of execution. Missing a ritual one day is not failure, it is part of the rhythm of life. The focus is on returning to routine with compassion, recognizing that consistency over time, not rigid perfection, is the source of stability. Flexibility ensures that routines remain a shelter rather than a source of pressure. Daily routines can also include moments of joy and creativity. Routines that solely focus on obligation risk feeling mechanical, but when infused with meaningful activities, reading, music, creative expression, or connecting with loved ones, they cultivate both stability and emotional richness. Anchoring the day with practices that nourish the spirit reinforces calmness, while also fostering resilience, motivation, and overall well-being. Routine becomes not a cage but a supportive framework for life, within which joy and growth can flourish. The cumulative power of routine becomes especially evident during high-stress periods. When external circumstances spiral, the anchors of routine provide reliable touchpoints that reinforce presence, focus, and composure. The nervous system, repeatedly exposed to predictable, calming stimuli, adapts over time, responding with greater stability rather than reactive tension. Routine trains the mind and body to expect moments of care, rest, and grounding, creating resilience that endures beyond individual rituals themselves. Routine extends to planning and prioritization. Integrating predictable moments for reviewing tasks, setting intentions, or preparing for upcoming obligations provides both structure and perspective. Without these anchors, chaos can feel relentless and unmanageable. By establishing consistent planning practices, even briefly, you create clarity, reduce cognitive overload, and foster the confidence to navigate challenges calmly. Structure becomes an ally, allowing you to respond to unpredictable circumstances from a stable foundation rather than reactive frenzy. Even the smallest routines can accumulate into profound psychological security. Morning rituals, brief pauses, intentional transitions, and micro-habits collectively form a scaffold that sustains composure and focus. As these routines solidify, the mind begins to anticipate stability and safety, making calmness more accessible even during external turbulence. Over time, this consistency fosters a resilient mindset, allowing you to face life's inevitable unpredictability with clarity, confidence, and grace. Building routine as a shelter also nurtures a sense of mastery. When life feels chaotic, the ability to control even small aspects of your day, what time you wake, how you move, how you nourish yourself, creates a foundation of empowerment. This sense of agency counterbalances feelings of helplessness, reinforcing internal calm. Routine becomes not merely a sequence of tasks, but a personal framework that protects, nurtures, and restores. In essence, routines are more than habits, they are lifelines. They provide structure without rigidity, security without confinement, and calmness without passivity. By creating gentle, sustainable routines, through sleep, movement, reflection, transitions, nourishment, and moments of joy, you build a shelter in which your nervous system can rest, your mind can focus, and your emotions can stabilize. Chaos may still arrive, but within this shelter, calmness is accessible, reliable, and restorative. Routines remind you that stability can exist even when life is unpredictable. They reinforce the message that you can create conditions for composure, clarity, and balance, regardless of external circumstances. Through consistent practice, repeated touchpoints, and gentle adaptation, routine becomes a sanctuary, a dependable framework that allows you to move through chaotic days not in a state of frantic reaction, but with presence, intention, and resilience. By embracing routine as your shelter, you give yourself the gift of calm, a steady foundation upon which to navigate life's storms with grace and confidence. Chapter 9: Seeking Support Without Losing Independence. Human beings are inherently social creatures. Even the most self-reliant individuals thrive when they are connected to others. When life feels chaotic, the instinct to handle it all alone can become overwhelming. There is a quiet but powerful misconception in our culture that independence means facing challenges entirely on our own, that asking for help is a sign of weakness, or that vulnerability will expose us to judgment. These beliefs, while common, are misleading. True strength lies in balancing self-sufficiency with the wisdom to seek support when necessary. Connecting with others, building trust, and allowing ourselves to receive guidance are not signs of dependency. They are tools that sustain resilience, calm, and clarity during turbulent times. The first step in seeking support is understanding that asking for help does not diminish your independence. Independence is not about isolation. It is about managing your life with intentionality, self-respect, and responsibility. Reaching out when necessary is an acknowledgement of reality, not a failure. Every person has limits, emotional, physical, or cognitive, and recognizing these limits is a form of self-awareness. Asking for guidance, delegating responsibilities, or sharing burdens does not remove your agency. It enhances your capacity to navigate challenges without being consumed by them. This perspective is transformative because it reframes support as empowerment, not surrender. Emotional support is one of the most vital aspects of resilience. During periods of chaos, emotions can become heightened, fragmented, and difficult to process alone. Trusted friends, mentors, family members, or professional counselors can serve as sounding boards, mirrors, and stabilizers. Simply sharing your thoughts, frustrations, or fears with someone who listens without judgment provides immediate relief, validates your experiences, and allows your mind to organize itself. Emotional support does not require solving the problem. It requires presence, empathy, and connection. Recognizing the power of being heard and understood reinforces that vulnerability can be both safe and restorative. Building a network of trustworthy people begins with discernment. Not all relationships provide constructive support, and placing trust indiscriminately can exacerbate chaos. Identify individuals whose presence consistently brings calm, clarity, or encouragement, and who respect boundaries and confidentiality. These are people who can hold space for your struggles without judgment, who offer guidance rather than unsolicited criticism, and who celebrate progress rather than magnifying failure. By cultivating these connections intentionally, you create a safety net that strengthens resilience without compromising independence. Trust becomes the bridge between connection and personal autonomy. Delegation is another form of seeking support that preserves agency. Often, chaos is amplified by the burden of attempting to do everything alone. Delegating tasks, whether at work, home, or in personal projects, allows you to focus on high-priority areas where your unique skills and energy are most effective. Delegation is not avoidance. It is strategic use of resources, including the talents and capacities of others. By entrusting responsibilities to capable people, you reduce overwhelm, create space for reflection and composure, and maintain the energy necessary for calm, intentional action. Each successful delegation reinforces both self-trust and trust in your support network. Seeking support requires clear communication. Articulating needs, limits and expectations allows others to assist effectively, without causing additional stress or confusion. This clarity protects independence because it ensures that support is structured, intentional, and mutually beneficial. For example, specifying that you need a listening ear, practical guidance, or help with a particular task prevents misunderstandings and fosters efficiency. When support is requested thoughtfully, it strengthens both your autonomy and your relational connections. Clear communication transforms dependency from a passive state into a conscious strategy for navigating chaos. Boundaries remain critical, even when seeking support. Accepting help does not mean surrendering control over your life. Boundaries define the terms of support, protect your priorities, and preserve emotional balance. For example, setting limits on the duration or frequency of discussions about stressful topics prevents fatigue, maintains focus, and allows support to remain effective. Boundaries ensure that the act of receiving assistance is empowering rather than depleting, preserving your independence while strengthening relational bonds. These boundaries reflect self-respect and intentionality, crucial elements of emotional resilience. Vulnerability is a key component of seeking support. Sharing struggles or acknowledging limitations requires courage, particularly in a culture that prizes stoicism and self-reliance. Yet, vulnerability fosters authenticity, deepens connection, and encourages others to offer meaningful assistance. It is through authentic vulnerability that relationships become supportive rather than superficial. By exposing what is real, your fears, doubts, or stress, you invite reciprocal understanding, empathy, and collaboration. Vulnerability does not weaken you. It expands the relational resources available to navigate chaotic periods with composure and clarity. It is important to distinguish between seeking support and offloading responsibility entirely. Support should supplement, not replace, personal accountability. Maintaining active participation in problem-solving, decision-making, and goal-setting ensures that independence remains intact. Think of support as a scaffold. It reinforces your structure, but you remain the architect. This balance between reliance and agency allows calm to emerge not from avoidance or passivity, but from strategic, intentional engagement with both your internal and external resources. Technology can facilitate or hinder support networks. Digital tools, messaging apps, and video calls allow connection across distance, but they also introduce constant interruptions, information overload, and social comparison. Using these tools intentionally, scheduling check-ins, limiting notifications, and prioritizing meaningful interactions ensures that support is constructive rather than chaotic. Intentional digital engagement preserves focus, maintains boundaries, and allows you to derive maximum benefit from your network without compromising your mental or emotional equilibrium. Practicing gratitude within support systems enhances both connection and calmness. Acknowledging the presence, effort, and reliability of those who assist fosters reciprocal respect and deepens trust. Gratitude does not only benefit relationships, it strengthens your own mindset by highlighting resources and support already available. Recognizing that help exists in your life creates psychological stability, reinforcing the sense that you are not alone, even amid turbulence. Gratitude paired with support is a stabilizing force, promoting both calm and resilience. Support networks are most effective when nurtured consistently, not only during crises. Relationships strengthened over time provide more reliable scaffolds during chaotic moments. Regular check-ins, shared experiences, and mutual assistance cultivate familiarity, trust, and predictability. These long-term relational habits build a foundation that allows calm to endure, even when external circumstances fluctuate. When your support system is stable, seeking help becomes less reactive and more intentional, preserving independence while enhancing resilience. It is essential to recognize that independence and interdependence coexist. True independence does not exist in isolation. It exists in the capacity to manage your life while knowing that support is accessible when needed. Interdependence, the mutual exchange of support, guidance, and collaboration, enhances strength rather than undermining it. Understanding this dynamic transforms the way we approach challenges. When chaos arises, you no longer face it in isolation but have access to a network that sustains, reassures, and guides. Independence becomes the freedom to choose support thoughtfully, rather than being trapped in solitary struggle. Self-reflection strengthens the ability to seek support effectively. After moments of relying on others, consider what was helpful, what boundaries were respected, and what could be improved. Reflection reinforces learning, builds relational intelligence, and enhances future interactions. It also allows you to monitor whether support contributes to calmness and resilience, or inadvertently creates dependency or stress. Conscious evaluation ensures that the act of seeking help remains intentional, balanced, and aligned with both personal needs and long-term goals. Practical strategies for building supportive networks include identifying trusted mentors, creating accountability partnerships, joining interest-based communities, and nurturing friendships built on reciprocity and respect. These networks provide multiple forms of support: emotional, practical, and intellectual, allowing you to draw upon resources appropriate to the situation. By intentionally cultivating diverse support structures, you reduce reliance on any single source, enhancing both resilience and autonomy. Finally, seeking support is an ongoing practice rather than a one-time event. Life's chaos is cyclical and needs fluctuate. The ability to request, receive, and integrate support requires consistent cultivation of awareness, communication, and boundaries. With practice, you develop a refined sense of when to act independently, when to delegate, and when to reach out, creating a dynamic balance between self-reliance and relational resources. This balance becomes a cornerstone of calmness, sustaining composure even in the midst of turbulence. In conclusion, seeking support without losing independence is an act of strength, awareness, and wisdom. By building networks of trustworthy individuals, delegating tasks thoughtfully, accepting emotional assistance with clarity, and maintaining boundaries, you reinforce resilience and calm. Support does not diminish agency, it enhances it, providing the scaffolding necessary to navigate life's chaos with composure, focus, and confidence. The balance of independence and connection is not accidental, it is intentional, cultivated, and empowering. By embracing this principle, you transform chaos from a source of overwhelm into a space where composure, clarity, and support coexist, allowing calm to flourish even in turbulent times. Chapter 10: Trusting the Flow of Life. Life, in its essence, is in constant motion. It ebbs and flows in ways both subtle and dramatic, and chaos is an inevitable part of this rhythm. There will always be days when everything feels unpredictable, overwhelming, or out of control, when your carefully built routines feel fragile, when support systems seem distant, and when calm feels impossible to grasp. The truth is that chaos is not permanent. It is a season, a wave, a passing moment. Recognizing this impermanence is the first step toward cultivating lasting calm. Learning to trust the flow of life does not mean surrendering agency or resigning yourself to passivity. It means embracing a mindset of acceptance, self-trust, and patient engagement with reality even when circumstances feel turbulent. Patience is perhaps the most critical element in trusting life's flow. It is easy to become frustrated when chaos persists, when plans falter, or when the world seems relentless. In these moments, impatience acts like fuel for anxiety, amplifying tension and clouding judgment. Patience is the conscious choice to allow events to unfold without forcing outcomes, to recognize that some processes cannot be hurried, and to give both yourself and your circumstances time to stabilize. Cultivating patience is not passive waiting. It is active presence, a deep acknowledgement that life's rhythm is beyond your control and that calmness is built through steady, intentional engagement rather than frantic effort. Self-trust is equally vital. Trusting yourself means believing in your capacity to navigate uncertainty, manage stress, and make choices aligned with your values, even when outcomes are unpredictable. Developing self-trust is an iterative process that grows from small, consistent actions, honoring your routines, setting boundaries, seeking support thoughtfully, and responding intentionally during moments of challenge. Each successful navigation of chaos, no matter how minor, reinforces the belief that you are capable, resilient, and resourceful. Self-trust becomes a foundation that allows calmness to endure independently of external circumstances. Acceptance, often misunderstood as resignation, is a tool of empowerment. Accepting life as it is does not mean approving of chaos or giving up on change. It means acknowledging reality without unnecessary resistance. Resistance creates tension, amplifies emotional reactivity, and clouds perception. Acceptance frees you to respond with clarity, creativity, and intentionality. When you accept the presence of chaos, you no longer expend energy fighting the uncontrollable. Instead, you conserve your resources for what you can influence, for what truly matters, and for cultivating calm within yourself. Acceptance is the gateway through which composure flows, even when external conditions remain unpredictable. An essential aspect of trusting life's flow is embracing impermanence. Nothing in life is fixed. Joy, stress, success, failure, calm, and chaos alike are transient. This perspective fosters resilience because it reframes difficulties as temporary, situational experiences rather than permanent truths. When challenges arise, remembering that they will pass allows you to face them with courage rather than panic. Similarly, calm and stability, once cultivated, are not fleeting. They are practices reinforced by intention, habits, and perspective. Understanding the cyclical nature of life allows you to navigate its highs and lows with balance, reducing emotional extremes and fostering long-term stability. Flow is also about aligning with life's natural rhythms rather than resisting them. Just as waves rise and fall, human experience moves through peaks of energy and valleys of rest. Chaos, tension, and unpredictability are part of this continuum. By observing patterns, personal energy cycles, emotional responses, and external events, you can identify when to act, when to pause, and when to simply breathe. Working with these rhythms rather than against them transforms chaos from a force of overwhelm into a guide for intentional living. Trusting life's flow means understanding that timing, seasonality, and natural progression are allies in sustaining calm. Reflection is a key practice in cultivating trust. Taking time to review past experiences reinforces the understanding that chaos has always been temporary, that difficult periods have been navigated, and that calm has been reclaimed repeatedly. Journaling, contemplative practice, or quiet introspection allows you to see patterns, recognize resilience, and build confidence in your ability to endure and thrive. Reflection is not about dwelling on mistakes or regrets. It is about strengthening awareness, reinforcing perspective, and cultivating the internal compass that guides you through uncertainty with grace. Letting go of perfection is intertwined with trusting life's flow. Chaos often feels amplified when expectations are rigid or outcomes must align with an idealized vision. The pursuit of perfection generates frustration, tension, and emotional volatility. By releasing the need for flawless execution, you create space for composure and adaptive response. Accepting that mistakes, delays, or unexpected shifts are part of life allows you to remain centered. Calm is not contingent on external perfection. It emerges from internal stability, self-compassion, and mindful engagement with reality as it is. Resilience is cultivated through repetition and practice, not through singular moments of triumph. Trusting life's flow is a skill, and like any skill, it strengthens with consistent application. Practices such as mindful breathing, intentional routines, reflective journaling, seeking support, and setting boundaries reinforce the nervous system's capacity to remain calm in uncertainty. Each practice contributes to a reservoir of composure that can be drawn upon when chaos arises. Over time, trust in your ability to navigate life's waves grows, creating confidence that calm can always be reclaimed. Another dimension of trusting life's flow is embracing uncertainty as a natural state rather than a threat. Human beings have a deep desire for predictability and control, yet life's essence is variability. Attempting to eliminate uncertainty is futile and exhausting. Resisting it only heightens stress. Accepting uncertainty allows you to respond to events with flexibility and creativity, to find solutions rather than become paralyzed by fear. Viewing uncertainty as a space for opportunity rather than danger shifts perspective, reduces anxiety, and supports sustained calm. Connection with the present moment is the anchor that supports trust in life's flow. Chaos often magnifies when attention is fixated on past regrets or future anxieties. Grounding yourself in the present, through breath awareness, sensory observation, or mindful action, shifts focus from the uncontrollable to the actionable. When present awareness is cultivated, the mind is less likely to spiral into panic, and the body is less likely to remain in a heightened state of tension. Trust grows when you experience firsthand that calm can be accessed moment by moment, independent of external circumstances. Acceptance of personal limits is equally important. Trusting life's flow does not mean overextending or ignoring your needs. Recognizing what you can and cannot control allows you to allocate energy effectively. This includes knowing when to pause, when to ask for help, and when to prioritize recovery over productivity. Acceptance of limits reinforces calm because it reduces futile effort, promotes strategic action, and ensures that resources, physical, mental, and emotional, are preserved for moments of greatest impact. Gratitude is another practice that reinforces trust and calmness. Even in the midst of chaos, there are elements of life that offer stability, joy, or support. Acknowledging these elements shifts focus from what is lacking or stressful to what is present and sustaining. Gratitude does not erase challenges. It reframes perception, creating a psychological foundation that reinforces resilience and composure. When gratitude is woven into daily practice, it nurtures trust that life contains both challenges and resources for navigating them, that calm can be found even in turbulent periods. Visualization and mental rehearsal further strengthen trust in life's flow. Imagining yourself navigating chaotic situations with composure, clarity, and adaptive action primes the mind to respond effectively in reality. Visualization reinforces the neural pathways associated with calm behavior, strengthens confidence, and reduces panic when unexpected events occur. By mentally rehearsing resilience, you cultivate a subconscious readiness that transforms potential overwhelm into steady, intentional engagement with life. Trusting the flow of life is also about embracing impermanence in relationships, circumstances, and outcomes. Difficulties, disappointments, and losses are transient. So too are moments of success, pleasure, and comfort. Recognizing impermanence fosters a balanced perspective, reduces attachment to outcomes, and encourages engagement with the process of life rather than fixation on fixed results. Calm emerges when you surrender attachment to permanence, allowing experience to unfold while maintaining composure and presence. In practical terms, trusting life's flow requires consistent cultivation of habits that reinforce resilience, mindful awareness, grounded routines, supportive networks, reflective practices, and intentional engagement with the present moment. These practices create a stable internal environment that remains resilient even when external conditions fluctuate. Trust is built incrementally, moment by moment, as calm is repeatedly accessed and reinforced. Over time, this internal stability becomes self-sustaining, creating confidence in your ability to navigate uncertainty. Finally, trusting life's flow is an act of courage. It requires relinquishing the illusion of complete control, embracing vulnerability, and committing to presence. It is a conscious decision to meet life as it comes, to engage with challenges without panic, and to believe in your capacity to restore calm regardless of circumstance. Trust in life is trust in yourself, your resilience, wisdom, and capacity to adapt. Chaos may appear relentless, but calm is accessible, enduring, and reclaimable through intention, awareness, and consistent practice. In conclusion, life's chaos is temporary, impermanent, and navigable. Trusting the flow of life is the culmination of all the practices cultivated in the preceding chapters: awareness, grounding, emotional regulation, supportive networks, routines, and self-compassion. It is a mindset, a skill, and a daily commitment to presence, patience, and acceptance. By embracing impermanence, cultivating self-trust, and engaging with the present moment, you learn to navigate life's unpredictable waves with confidence and composure. Calmness becomes not an occasional luxury, but a reliable state, accessible in every season. Trust in the flow of life, and you discover that even amidst turbulence, clarity, resilience, and peace are always within reach. Conclusion: becoming your calm anchor. As we reach the conclusion of this journey, it is important to pause and reflect on what you have explored, practiced, and discovered. Life, in all its beauty and complexity, will never be entirely predictable. Chaos will arise, unexpectedly and relentlessly at times, challenging your focus, patience, and composure. Yet the threads woven through this book — awareness, body-centered practices, mindset shifts, micro-resets, routines, boundaries, and supportive connections — form a fabric of resilience that you can carry into every moment. These are not abstract concepts, nor are they temporary fixes. They are practical, accessible, and enduring tools for cultivating calm amidst the storm. By integrating them into your life, you begin to transform calm from a fleeting aspiration into a reliable internal anchor. Awareness is the foundation. Throughout the chapters, you have been invited to observe yourself, not with judgment but with curiosity. Awareness is not about overanalyzing every thought or emotion. It is about recognizing your reactions, understanding your triggers, and noticing how external circumstances influence your internal state. It allows you to step back from the turbulence, creating a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies the choice to respond with composure, intention, and clarity. Awareness is the doorway to calm, because it empowers you to see what is within your control and what is not, giving you the space to navigate life's chaos deliberately rather than reactively. Your body is inseparable from your experience of calm. Chapters devoted to breathwork, grounding, and mindful movement highlighted the intimate connection between physiology and emotional regulation. When life is overwhelming, the body often bears the weight before the mind fully registers it: tension in the shoulders, shallow breathing, a racing heart. Attending to these signals and responding with gentle care, through deep breaths, stretches, walks, or simple pauses, reminds you that calm can begin in the body long before the mind catches up. Your body-centered practices are not optional luxuries. They are essential instruments for creating a stable internal environment, a sanctuary that persists even when external chaos persists. Mindset is the lens through which you perceive and respond to life. It shapes how you interpret events, whether challenges feel insurmountable or temporary, whether setbacks are devastating or instructive. Throughout this book, you have been encouraged to reframe thoughts, accept uncertainty, and cultivate perspective. Calm does not require denial of difficulty. It requires acknowledgement of reality, while consciously choosing how to meet it. By shifting the mental narrative from urgency, panic, or perfectionism to curiosity, patience, and self-trust, you reinforce your internal equilibrium. Mindset is the invisible architecture of your calm, structuring perception, so that composure becomes your natural default, rather than a rare reward. Small resets, the micro-practices woven into chaotic days, are deceptively powerful. A 5-minute walk, a short meditation, a pause to stretch, or simply stepping away from a stressful environment accumulates over time, quietly rebuilding resilience. These moments are not interruptions to productivity. They are investments in your capacity to remain grounded, centered, and effective. When you view calm as the result of deliberate small actions rather than a sudden arrival, you reclaim agency. On days when everything feels too much, when pressure seems insurmountable, these micro-resets are your lifelines, gently reminding you that composure can always be reclaimed, one intentional breath or step at a time. Routines provide shelter within the unpredictability of life. Consistent touchpoints, morning rituals, meal times, sleep schedules, movement, and reflection offer predictability in an otherwise chaotic world. These routines do not confine or restrict, they anchor. They signal to the nervous system that safety, presence, and clarity are possible, regardless of external circumstances. When cultivated with gentleness and flexibility, routines allow you to navigate life's waves with a sense of internal order and calm, providing both stability and comfort. Routines are a testament to your ability to create structure and security in a life that is, by nature, ever-changing. Boundaries are the protective lines that maintain this calm. Establishing limits on your time, attention, and energy ensures that the space you create, both internally and externally, is preserved. Boundaries are not walls that isolate, they are fences that safeguard your capacity to engage thoughtfully, respond intentionally, and maintain composure. They allow you to honor what matters most, protect your energy, and create room for reflection and rest. Without boundaries, calm is fragile, vulnerable to erosion by the constant demands of life. With them, it becomes resilient, sustainable, and self-reinforcing. Connection is both a tool and a reminder that calm does not exist in isolation. Seeking support, sharing burdens, and cultivating networks of trustworthy people enhances resilience without compromising independence. Whether through emotional presence, practical assistance, or shared experience, connection nurtures a sense of belonging and safety that reinforces internal composure. By allowing yourself to receive support thoughtfully, you remind your nervous system and your mind that stability is not solely self-generated. It is strengthened through meaningful relationships, authentic vulnerability, and mutual care. Connection is not dependence, it is partnership, an essential element of sustaining calm amid life's storms. Trusting life's flow, the final pillar, ties these themes together. Chaos, stress, and unpredictability are temporary. They move in cycles just as calm, stability, and clarity do. Trusting the flow does not mean passivity or resignation. It means recognizing impermanence, cultivating patience, and embracing the knowledge that calm is accessible even when circumstances are difficult. By combining awareness, physical grounding, mindset shifts, micro-resets, routines, boundaries, and supportive connection, you create a resilient framework that allows you to meet uncertainty with composure, confidence, and presence. Trusting the flow transforms chaos from a source of panic into a rhythm you can navigate intentionally. Becoming your calm anchor is a journey, not a destination. It is not about never experiencing stress, overwhelm, or turbulence. It is about knowing that no matter how intense life becomes, you have the tools, the practices, and the internal framework to return to composure. Calmness is not magical. It is a skill cultivated through repetition, awareness, and conscious choice. Every breath, every pause, every intentional action contributes to the foundation of stability upon which your life rests. Over time, this foundation becomes automatic, a default mode of presence, clarity, and resilience that persists regardless of external circumstances. Even on days when chaos feels relentless, when external pressures threaten to pull you into panic, you can return to your calm anchor. The strategies you have cultivated are reliable. Awareness allows you to recognize tension early. Body-centered practices remind you that calm can start physically. Mindset shifts guide your interpretation of challenges. Micro-resets provide tangible, manageable relief. Routines, when practiced consistently, offer structure and comfort. Boundaries safeguard your energy and priorities. Connection reminds you that support exists, and trust in life's flow reassures you that this storm too will pass. These strategies are not temporary solutions. They are enduring companions that empower you to navigate life intentionally even when everything seems chaotic. Calmness, ultimately, is a choice. It is a commitment to yourself, a daily decision to respond with presence, clarity, and compassion. It is not the absence of challenges, but the mastery of your response to them. By embracing this choice, you shift the narrative. Chaos does not define your life. Stress does not dictate your identity. The unpredictability of circumstances cannot strip you of composure. Through consistent practice, calmness becomes a skill, a refuge, and a natural state that exists regardless of the external storm. As you close this book, carry with you the understanding that stillness is not a distant destination. It is accessible here and now, wherever you are. Every breath, pause, intentional movement, and connection reinforces your capacity to return to calm. Every mindful decision, every boundary respected, every moment of self-compassion strengthens your internal anchor. Chaos may come and go, but within you resides a steadfast calm that is nurtured through awareness, practice, and intentional living. The journey to becoming your calm anchor is lifelong, evolving as life itself evolves. There will be moments of turbulence, setbacks, and overwhelm, but these do not negate your progress. Each challenge is an opportunity to reinforce your practices, deepen your resilience, and strengthen your ability to meet life with grace. Calmness is not a fleeting luxury reserved for perfect days. It is your birthright, your skill, and your sanctuary, available in every season. In closing, remember this: the storms of life do not define your story. Chaos is temporary, and calm is attainable. You have cultivated awareness, physical grounding, mental clarity, intentional pauses, routines, boundaries, and connection, all of which are tools to reclaim composure at any moment. By returning to these strategies consistently, calmness becomes less a fleeting experience and more a natural default. You are capable of creating stillness in the midst of chaos, and in doing so, you anchor yourself in a space of stability, resilience, and clarity. Through this practice, you discover a quiet but profound truth: calm is not found outside, it is cultivated within. It is your anchor, your refuge, and your steady companion for every chaotic day life may bring. Calmness is yours to claim. Step into it, practice it, and trust that no matter the storm, stillness can always be cultivated. Thank you for reading this book. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to leave us a review. TM Light. Disclaimer. This book was created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. While every effort was made to ensure the accuracy and relevance of the content, readers should note that this cannot be considered professional advice. Readers are encouraged to apply their own judgment and consult experts where needed.